Hello everyone. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I feel like it will help out a lot of people out there, explaining my story and kind of what I went through to get to where I am today as a tattoo artist, fully licensed, all of those things. So I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are just going through, an apprenticeship or just getting the knowledge because they want to tattoo, and just there's so much kind of hurdles to go over to get to that point. So I hope that my story and my background helps you guys out. So if you are an apprentice or just wanting to learn more things about tattooing, so what you could do is leave a like down below and subscribe. I'm going to be making videos every week and posting them on here so I could help out all you guys as much as I possibly can. So it feels like forever ago now, a different lifetime. So 13 years ago, I got out of high school and decided to go to college for graphic design. Now, I figured out very quickly that college really wasn't for me, but I really didn't know what field I was going to go into. So I stuck out college. I knew the first month that it wasn't going to work out, but I stuck around because I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Throughout that period of time, I thought about really what I wanted to do, and I knew that from the beginning it was going to involve art some way. Now, that could be super tricky if you're in the artistic field. There's a ton of starving artists out there that, do great work, but they're not in a field and they're not doing things that make a ton of money, even though they may be happy just doing these things. I needed something to sustain myself, to try to grow myself, and to become better at and be able to live a happy life doing what I want to do. So after I kind of went through that period of time, I had a really good friend come visit me in college where I moved to go to the school. And he just got his first tattoo. Tattooing wasn't something that was super big when I first started. It's not like how it is today. You see it on social media, TV shows about it. It's kind of something that everyone knew was a thing, but it's not so out in the open as it is now. So he came and showed me the tattoo he got, explained like his whole story of going in there, picking out the design, figuring out what he wanted, and getting the tattoo. And for some reason, as soon as he said that, something clicked. I was like, that's what I want to do. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do, but it involves art. I could draw, I could create art on people forever. I just knew immediately that was my goal in life. So this was about the third month that I was in college. So I went to a few tattoo shops in the area. Like, it definitely isn't like it is today. There's so many things on YouTube, there's classes you could take. People are more open to give out information on tattooing as it was back then. So I kind of went in there with some of my drawings, said I was in art school, and went to a couple shops, and they just really shut me down super quickly. They really didn't give me a chance, wouldn't let me talk. I said, I have the passion for this. I'm going to do everything I can to make this happen. But all the luck that I thought was available, everything in me knew that I could do this, every shop just shut me down. And it really kind of put me in a spot to where I was super discouraged, didn't think it was ever going to work out. I decided I'm gonna focus full time in college. I'm not going to worry about tattooing anymore. I didn't really think it was for me, which is something that a lot of people feel. It's really discouraging when you go to a couple different shops and you're just getting shut down time after time. So yeah, I was definitely there, and luckily, after this period of time, 2 months went by. My buddy calls me, and he's like, hey dude, there's a guy up here where I'm from that wants to talk to you. I explained everything, I got a couple tattoos from him, and he wants to give you a shot. So I communicated with him over the phone a few times, sent him some of my work. He went over it, said, you really do have the ability to become a great artist. Through talking to him, I decided that I was going to pack up all of my things and I'm going to drop out of college because this is my goal. This is all I want in life, and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Okay, and when I finally got to the shop, it was a really small shop. You could tell that it wasn't really a walk-in shop. This dude's been tattooing forever, so his clients just come to him. There wasn't really much artwork on the wall. It was just a really tiny hole in the wall that I started in. That was the shop that first gave me the chance. So talking about my mentor, he was an old biker dude, so he was really hard. But luckily, I've learned in my life that I really react well to, criticism to make me better. A lot of places out there nowadays are a lot nicer and everything, but that really doesn't work out for me. If everyone's just like, this looks great, just keep at it, all that stuff, I work really well kind of, within that pressure, so it actually helped me out a lot. So everything was going as good as physically possible for you working at a place for no money at all, doing everything you can to help out everyone in the shop. And it went on like that for about 6 months. The biggest issue was when I first started tattooing. Like I said, I was really into art all of my life, doing paintings, drawings, everything. So when I got into tattooing, once I learned the fundamentals, I kind of took that and ran. I learned very quickly that it caused problems between me and my mentor because he was super old school. You know, he did things a certain way that he's been doing for 30 years and he didn't really want to change. And as things progressed with tattooing, as I got better, there kind of got some resentment build up. Not that I was getting better than him or anything like that. I just feel like he just didn't really like me when I first started tattooing. I really can't explain it too much because I still to this day don't really know why. But that definitely caused a problem which kind of affected my tattoo career in a bad way at that point. I thought it was a really bad thing, but it turned out to be the greatest thing ever. So I started talking to other artists, other tattoo shops around the area, kind of explaining what was going on, what I was doing. And I learned really, really quickly that I was not learning the right way. A lot of the things he was teaching me wasn't really the appropriate way of doing things, you know, especially with like talking to clients and just simple things like sanitation. All of these things are like main focal points of tattooing. It was kind of focused on him wanting money over anything else. So a lot of those things were overlooked just as long as I could tattoo good. And that's not really the mentor that you want to grow and get better in this industry. You want someone that's, you know, fully rounded, knowing all the sanitation stuff, knowing, you know, what machine to use and what thing, and explaining to you exactly what you're doing, because at the end of the day, you are learning from them. You are going to become them. And if you have a good mentor, they want you to get better than them. Like, that is their goal, for you to become better than they were. At least that's how I feel. Obviously it wasn't for the first place I worked at. That caused a lot of issues, and a lot of that resentment would just kept building up, and I knew it was about to blow up at any moment. So what I did, I decided to let him know that, you know, this isn't for me. I'm going to pack my bags up, and this was the second time I gave up on my dream. Thinking back on it now, it's just such a crazy thing to think about that I actually threw in the towel, but at the moment I didn't feel like I had any other choice. You know, I was super young, just got into this industry, and the first shop that I actually got into, everything I learned was wrong. So from there, I left the shop. I did not give up completely on tattooing. I still focused on drawing, bettering myself, and working on, you know, like my brother, and, you know, tattooing when I could in sterile places, of course. And there really wasn't anything, I know I went over this before, but there wasn't like YouTube or anything, so everything I learned, everything I studied, I kind of had to learn on my own. I had to retrain myself in everything, because I knew everything that I learned first starting out was completely wrong. Just like him wanting me to ride on the tube all the time, not try to transition into, you know, letting the liner hang out and be able to have the control of your liner hanging out. All these things that are really important when you are first learning and trying to grow. It's kind of like he wanted to hold me back to some extent. After relearning all these things, studying myself, figuring out the best way I could possibly do a tattoo, I built up the confidence to walk into a tattoo shop. So I heard from a buddy that they were looking for an artist. One of their artists was walking away. So I thought this was my perfect opportunity. You know, I've been in this industry. I know what I'm doing now, not to the extent that I could do anything, but at least I was confident at this point of my career that I could walk in and be able to explain some stuff and know a little bit of what I'm talking about to be able to get into a place. So I walked in there and I spoke to an artist that was really nice. You know, he checked through my stuff and he was just like, I don't really think you're ready. And I was like, you know, I just need a shot. Let me talk to the owner. Let me sit down with him. You know, this is what I want. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. So if it's here or somewhere else, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. And at this point, I still did not have my license. So in the state of Pennsylvania where I was, there's really no health department. So there really wasn't a license, but you do go through an apprenticeship and get a piece of paper. I would have to restart this kind of cycle of apprenticing under someone again. So I talked to the owner and he was like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a shot. You bring in your brother to the shop and you can tattoo him right here and we'll see how the tattoo is. This was still the beginning of my career. I was super nervous. All the confidence I had as soon as he said, come in here and tattoo, went out the door. So I was really nervous. You know, I stayed up all night preparing what I was going to do, studying it. I drew it 16 times to make sure it was, you know, everything I wanted it to be. And I went in and did the tattoo. And he said, you know, how long have you been tattooing? I told him, I was honest. I was like, told him the whole story. And he was like, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm not saying that this is great work, but it is a start. So from there, he helped me kind of get better. He gave me the tools, explained to me all the things. I was only using traditional machines at the time. I got on a rotary, which really helped me out a lot because traditional machines just weren't for me. I still use them to this day now that I do have the knowledge behind them, but there's so much to learn to get them tuned correctly that at that point in my career, I just didn't know. So finally, after going through all these things with the other shop, I finally was able to get into a shop and start tattooing. This was the first time I'll be able to actually start making money. Now, I was nowhere close to knowing what I was doing, being a professional artist. But for the first time, this felt like my golden moment because I was actually having income come in from what I wanted to do for a living, which is a major milestone in your career. Especially after everyone telling me, I'm not gonna make it, it's too hard of an industry to get into. Even if you do get into it, you're not gonna make good money. All of these things kind of weighed me back. Anytime something would go wrong in a tattoo shop, I'd be like, they told you so. This is what they said was going to happen. You should have listened. So all of these things kind of would go through my head until this moment where it felt like, everything was clear and I knew exactly what I was going to do. So everything was going really good. I tattooed at this place for about a year and a half. But it was in kind of a hard part of town. So there was just some issues going on that I didn't necessarily like, that I didn't really want to be around anymore. So through a couple of these situations that happened in the shop, I decided that I am ready to kind of move on with my career. I was confident, knew what I was doing enough to kind of broaden out and be able to do something that I want to do, get into a shop that I can grow in, because I felt like I was in this shop and I kind of got to a point to where there was no way to grow. I was stuck in this never-ending loop, and anytime you feel that way, and you have the confidence that you could do, I definitely recommend that, we're all trying to grow more and more in life. So definitely make that leap and make it happen. So from there, I decided to move to a different state. I ended up moving to Tennessee and started in a tattoo shop here where everything was great. The owner was super nice. He would let me use machines, try out new machines. It was just an awesome experience. I had a great time there and I grew so much there. All the knowledge I know today would have been from that period of time, just being able to meet different artists, come into town and going to tattoo conventions and all the stuff I picked up throughout the years from other artists, which is such an awesome thing when you could learn little tips and tricks from other people to try to integrate into your tattooing will make you such a better artist. And then from there, I got to a point after tattooing there for about 5 years that I knew it was time to focus on myself. I wanted to open up a shop that I wasn't just doing constant walk-ins every day. I was super busy tattooing from 12 to 12 at night. I really did not like tattooing that late. That's when, certain kind of people come out of the woodworks and, you have to deal with like drunk clients and all sorts of stuff that I really, at that point in my career, I didn't want to have to deal with anymore. So I decided that my goal was to open up my own tattoo shop. So I studied everything I needed to do, all the business aspects of everything, read books about business, just so I could get a mental understanding of what to do in this situation. And then finally one day, the perfect location came up, and that would be the tattoo shop I own today. I opened that up about a year and a half ago, and it's been going great so far. So everything I told you today is the reason that I do this, the reason I'm so passionate to try to help other artists that were in the same shoes that I was, because I feel like I spent so much time wasted when I could have had so many more opportunities if I just had one person guide me in the right direction. So thanks for listening to my origin story, and I hope that this was able to help some of those artists out there that were in the same kind of cycle that I was back in the day. I hope this gives you the clear picture that there is light at the end of the tunnel, there is money to be had in this industry, and it is a lot of fun. There's great things that come from tattooing. You get to meet a lot of great people. If you own your own tattoo shop, you can do the tattoos that you want to do. You don't have to focus on just doing, 6 walk-ins a day or all these things. It is a great industry to be in. And like always, if you are interested in this content and you want to learn more about tattooing and hear more stories from me, just leave a like down below and follow for more videos. Thank you.